everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Claudia, the Clinic Director and Psychologist at Self-Reflections in Wollongong. Thank you for joining me for the first ever, online workshop and webinar to help the community feel connected, build awareness and education, as well as learn skills and strategies for a variety of mental health issues and struggles that we are facing. We will have a different topic each week that we will review at the end of the month, whether this is something that we can continue providing to the community, whether or not the situation improves or doesn't out there in the big wide world. Before I continue, it's very important for me to highlight that our video content is intended for general public use and knowledge. The information shared here is evidence-based at the time of production. What that means is that it's reliable, valid, and evidence and research supported. It is the responsibility of the viewer to assess whether the information provided is right for their needs, situation, and individual circumstances. We offer information that is general and broad. It is not intended to, nor should it replace a qualified mental health practitioner who is able to make judgments and decisions based on first-hand knowledge of an individual and their situation. The reason why I felt like I needed to say that is some clients or some people that will be joining us in these webinars are people that I know, I work with, and I am able to provide further information based on their unique journey. However, many people joining us today are going to be new to not only, online webinars, but also self-reflections. So to those who are new, welcome. And if you do need further support, please don't hesitate to get in contact, whether it be with Self-Reflections, your local GP, or of course speak to a friend to help you engage in services that's suitable for what's going on for you. So if you'd like us to cover a specific topic in our future webinars or workshops, please don't hesitate to let me know, and you can get in touch via email or our social media accounts. Today's topic is going to be around scheduling. We are going to cover some points for people who have lost their employment, who are working from home, or might still be at work. The point of doing this is to help us set up rosters and routines, highlight what activities to consider to help build mental strength and well-being. What would it look like if we do too much or too little of something, and how to create balance and ensure we're not putting pressure on ourselves too much. So everything discussed today, of course, must comply with current Australian COVID requirements. As always, be safe and look after one another. So, hi to whoever has already logged on. Thank you so much, and I really do appreciate for you to take the time out to join us today. One thing that I wanted to highlight is how important it is for us to identify the impacts of what is going on out there on our current self and our life. It is very important for us to keep mindful of our motivation and energy at the moment, as a lack of that can easily spiral us out of control and can result to a lot more serious issues for individuals. What might happen is we might start cutting back on activities, neglecting our daily tasks and responsibilities, and leaving decision-making to others. When that activity level actually decreases, what occurs is it's a never-ending spiral and cycle that happens. We become less motivated and therefore more lethargic. And what do we think happens then? Well, mood decreases, anxiety increases, self-esteem gets hit. It's really important for us to be on watch and plan early to make sure that we don't catch ourselves in that spiral. So one thing we need to be mindful of is at the moment there are a lot of restrictions, and naturally we have, right up until this point, always been encouraged to go outside, to socialize, to do as many activities out there as possible. And of course, we're also neurologically hardwired for belonging and connection. So being close to people, whether it be in the same space, close together, or even the physical touch of someone, plays a big role in our sense of happiness. It feels like for many that over one day that all got taken away, and it's really, really hard for us to adjust in such a short amount of time. However, we know that this is only temporary, and we're all in the same boat where this is the first time it's ever happened to most of us, if at all, any of us. So a little bit of adjustment needs to happen. However, what is abnormal at the moment will soon start to become, or feel a little less abnormal and go into the realms of normality, if we stay, I guess, engaged in the things that are going to make us feel better. So why is it important for us to increase our activity level? So activity to some sense really does make us feel better, and that is activities in the home, activities out there, whether they be for self-care or for achievement. It's extremely important for us to engage in some form of activity, and that allows us to keep ourselves motivated, I guess our mood up, and at the same time helps our focus too. We know that activity helps us feel less tired. When we are physically tired and we not do much more, of course, if we're tired and we do need rest and that's our need and we fulfill it and we feel obviously a lot better after that. But if that prolongs, if that rest prolongs, or that inactivity prolongs, what we notice is a very big spike in our sense of hopelessness, worthlessness, and a sense of low mood as well. Increasing activity can also help us think clearly. So when we don't have much going on, it's very, very common for us to get stuck in spirals that our mind will take us on. For many of us, we do struggle with worries and stresses, and for some, it is very much anxiety disorders and quite negative, unhelpful thought patterns that we might get stuck in. When we have structure, when we have activity, when we have something that we can look forward to, our mind is able to focus a lot more and in a way be distracted, but in a healthy, mindful way, rather than spiraling out of control in things that are unnecessary. So when we look at, I guess, trying to set up some form of structure in our life, we need to be very, very aware of how to try and balance that. It's important to have a balance between fun and pleasurable activities and activities that give us a sense of achievement and mastery. If we're imbalanced with those two, what we find that, let's say there's too much fun and pleasurable activities, what we notice is that our sense of purpose and our sense of meaning kind of withers away after a while, and we become very, very lazy, or we're not very productive. If the other side happens, for example, more emphasis is placed on things like achievement or mastery, we often find higher levels of stress, and over time can lead to periods of burnout. And that's one thing we definitely want to decrease or prevent. So when we, I guess, look at not engaging in any activities, in whichever way we're looking at it, it's really, I guess, it's quite correlated with our mood. So if we don't have anything planned, we do notice that there is a big correlation with people feeling quite low and sad, and as well as have further feelings of hopelessness, guilt, and despair. Putting in place or routine or structure allows us to give us a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. And that's one of our core needs in regards to us living as humans. So when we are trying to plan things for ourselves, and we'll have a bit of a chat about that today, we need to make sure that there is a mixture of activities. Some that do bring us positive feelings and fun and enjoyment, and others that is going to give us a sense of satisfaction, a sense of accomplishment. When we are trying to, I guess, look at how the world has changed very, very quickly and what that might mean for what we need to do now, it does range depending on your circumstances. We know that for those who have, unfortunately, due to the circumstances, lost their employment or jobs or careers, um, have a big weight on them now in regards to not feeling like they have purpose or meaning. It's a really big hit when you've been told that one of your services might not be essential. It's very quick that we start to feel that we're not essential, because there is sometimes a very big correlation between our employment or our job and who we are as an individual. So for those individuals who may have lost their job or may have not a lot of structure currently in place, it is imperative for you to create as much of that structure for you as possible. This does not take away the hardship and the grief and loss that comes with losing employment. And we're not trying to minimize how distressing and severe that was for many people. However, it is still extremely important that some routine and some structure is kept so you feel like there is still something in your life you can work towards and there is meaning in your life. For those working from home, it is extremely important to try and get that balance, that work doesn't bleed into your home life. And what that means is having a very strict structure around when work commences, when you break, and when work finishes. I often find that when we have our laptop at home, and I can hand on heart say I do this frequently, I often, or I do find, we often find ourselves on our laptop and doing work at hours that's actually supposed to be personal time. So for those who are working from home, make sure that you have very distinct differences between what is work time and what is home time. And don't fear actually putting those boundaries in place with your colleagues, management, or whoever else you find, or even clients or customers that you find might be breaking those boundaries for you and really enmeshing work and home life. For those who are still at work, what we want to make sure you are doing is being mindful of connection as well. As well as structure. So knowing that, yes, you are still attending work and still trying to create some or continue some form of normality, but it's very easy for us to sometimes feel a bit of survivor's guilt, that there are people around us that very much have lost a lot of their meaning and purpose, and we might feel like there's a bit of an icky feeling being fortunate and lucky to still have work. It's absolutely okay to still have pride and still have meaning and still enjoy the fact that you do have work. I know, and everything, I guess, in the situations out there, it's extremely hard, and no one's, everyone's influenced in some way. But we want to make sure that we're all looking after each other, no matter what situation we're in. So when we look at how to keep that structure, like we've mentioned, it's very important to try and keep a balance between activities that are going to be fun and pleasurable. These are my favorite to talk about, mainly because they're the ones we most of the time really do enjoy. So I'm going to discuss a few indoor indoor activities and self-care ideas that you can participate in and integrate in your day. So make sure you're taking regular breaks, maybe having a tea or coffee, FaceTiming or calling a friend or family, playing some board games, whether it's with yourself, with your family members, or if you have a specific buddy that you have committed to just seeing, and while committing to social distancing, please, of course, engage in board games or any fun activities that you can think of within that tiny group. Maybe some reading, doing a puzzle, running a bath, putting on a face mask, doing a meditation or mindfulness, which, by the way, we're doing live streams on our Instagram account. Engaging in some yoga or Pilates, which, by the way, there are stacks of free recordings and workshops available online. My favorite is Yoga with Adrienne. So if you haven't checked that out before, please have a look at on YouTube and you'll be able to see what's available. And of course, some home workouts. It's extremely important for us to keep, I guess, our movement up. And again, just like the yoga and Pilates, home workouts are now very much freely available through a variety of different PTs in the area, as well as YouTube videos and Instagram videos. When we then transition to some outdoor self-care or activities, it's really important for us to highlight how important going outdoors and doing things outdoors is for our mental health and well-being. Of course, like I mentioned, this needs to be, these activities need to be practiced with the restrictions in mind. So whether it's you doing it on your own, you doing it with someone from your own household, or like I said, making sure that you are going to open places but still socially distancing from people, it's still, or physically, sorry, distancing from people, it's still important that we do get our time to go outside. So some suggestions here would be going for a walk or a run with or without a dog. Some people have dogs, some people don't. And that doesn't just, you don't necessarily have to find a track. That might be something as simple as going to down the street, down the driveway, whatever you feel most comfortable in doing. That might be driving to a track somewhere. Again, it might be slow-paced, fast-paced. Second thing might be riding a bike, or if people have rollerblades these days, I know they did back in my day. Never thought I'd say that. Getting out there and using some tools to help you engage in that activity is important. Going on a bushwalk, hike, or walk through a forest. Going for a drive. If you feel like you've wanted to go visit a few places that you haven't yet already, this would be a really, really wonderful opportunity to do so. Maybe even going to buy yourself a hammock and relaxing in the hammock, either on your balcony or in the backyard. Maybe starting a garden or mending to your already little garden that you might have. Having a picnic on your balcony, backyard, or nearby a park or beach. Watching the sunrise or sunset, maybe going out and taking pictures of nature, or even camping in your backyard. When we look at these restrictions that have been put in place, this does not mean that life has to stop. For some of us, yes, certain aspects of our life that are very important have come to a halt, and that is significantly impacting on our sense of self-worth and purpose. However, it's really important for us to know that we can still live life as best as we can, engage with as many people as we can with the parameters of what the government is trying to put in place, to try and ensure that we're keeping up to a really, really positive mental wellbeing space. Remember that when you are creating this routine or roster, I usually just use Excel to, put a bit of a timetable in place. And start small. Like, we don't want to overwork ourselves on the first day. Have a mixture of things. Have a couple of things throughout the day that, again, create a sense of fun or achievement, and then also a sense of, fun and pleasure, and a sense of achievement and mastery. Make sure you don't put things on there that scare you or worry you or make or a bit too intense or too hard, because we don't want to set ourselves up to fail. We want to make sure that we're setting up little activities bit by bit, with a range of items in there to know that there's some form of balance and that we're not overworking ourselves. What else do I want to say today? Sometimes even being able to record or time yourself on certain things is important. So I know time watching is important for us to, manage our time and make sure that we're using it effectively. And for someone who does have potentially a lot of time on their hands, it feels like it goes really slowly and there's a lot of it to fill. So if you do set this routine up or schedule up, what you're going to notice is you are going to flip from one thing to the other, and therefore it allows you to feel like the day is still progressing with you engaging in things that are actually going to be productive and purposeful. For those individuals who are working from home, it is important for you to still stay in your routines as much as possible. For example, and actually, anyone having to stay at home, whether it's because of lack of employment or because you've been transitioned to work from home, it's still extremely important for you to wake up in the morning, maybe not as early if you don't have to drive anywhere or transport yourself anywhere to work. Still have your shower, still have your breakfast, still get dressed, and commence on what you need to do, whether that be work related or whether that be fun and achievement related. Make sure that you're taking breaks, make sure that you are timing yourself, that you aren't putting too much emphasis on working for hours and hours straight. It's very, very important that we are protecting the most important thing, and that's very much our mind and our body, because if it's being pushed to limits, it is going to break, and it will do so if it doesn't believe that you're protecting it or looking after it. When your day finishes, again, do what you would normally do by taking your shower, having dinner, and then doing a bit of a wind down routine before going to bed. Apply a nighttime routine if you feel like you need to get into the habit of trying to get to sleep and not staying up too late, and reward yourself for your efforts for the day. Practice kindness and make sure that there are going to be times where we slip up, and that's okay. There are going to be times where we're going to have to rejig this routine of schedule because it just doesn't work for us. If you need to do so, that's completely fine. Be kind to yourself in that process. If you feel like you need to talk to a friend or a family member, or if any one of you see me, to be able to decipher how best to suit your personal needs, bring that in. I guess the purpose of what we're trying to create is a gentle approach to creating this balance for us. We know that there's so much out there that we can do. However, there are now restrictions as to just how we go about doing that. Be aware and mindful of checking in with yourself on a regular basis, so that you are ensuring you are fulfilling what you need at any given moment. Make sure that if you're feeling like my energy is a little bit low, well, what can you do there to increase that? Maybe something a little bit more active. However, if you're noticing that you are feeling a little bit pent up or stressed out, maybe doing a more calming activity or exercise. Remind yourself that you're not in this battle alone. This is not something that you have to face alone. There are people, services, connections out there. We just need to make the effort to reach out to those individuals, whether they be, people you've known forever, or people that you've only met a couple of times. To be able to engage with people in this time and just ask, how are you going? How am I going? It really just allows us to catch spirals before they get out of control, and ensure that we're all looking after each other, because this is a temporary thing. This isn't going to go on forever. It is our right now, but it's not going to be our forever. And being able to help put that into perspective by doing some really wonderful, wonderful activities for ourselves and with those closest to us will allow us to get to the other end of this uncertain time with a little bit of sanity. Look, it's extremely normal for us to feel really panicked and feel unmotivated. I can hand on heart say this morning, I actually felt really, really intense because of the recent changes with the mental health things that have come out. I had to work a lot, and I very much did not look after myself. And that's such a normal human thing to do. When you notice that that has happened, please re-engage with what you know really, really works for you, whether that be something, like I said, really calming or active. But the main priority is, how are you looking after yourself during this time? If you can get people involved, please do. If you are an individual who lives on your own or maybe struggles socially and would like to connect, please send us your email to info@selfreflections.com.au just to say that you've watched this webinar or workshop and you are an individual that does struggle with finding connection. And if you do feel comfortable with maybe us doing workshops that you do see other people to be able to connect and talk, maybe we can set that up. It's one thing that does happen out there. Not every one of us has people we live with or close individuals in our world that is really easy for us to connect with. So if that's a trouble for you, know that there's things we can put in place to overcome that. So if you are feeling that way, like I said, send me an email and be able to describe a little bit about what your situation is. And then the purpose of this is that if you do feel comfortable, I will then be able to send you a link to another webinar or workshop that allows connection to other people that are in the same boat as you. Okay, so keeping up with time. I hope today was helpful and useful for you. Like I said, these tips are very much general and probably things you already know. However, it's us just bringing it to the forefront of our mind and making sure that we try and practice this with kindness and re-engage with things that we've always been taught are and will always be beneficial to us. It's about now tweaking it to fit the current restrictions that are put in place. So much talking. So that's it from me this evening. Thank you so much for being part of our first workshop. Like I said, these workshops will be running for the next month on Mondays at 5 p.m. If we feel that these are really, really fantastic workshops that are very beneficial to our community, we will continue running them and we will set some topics in advance so that you can decide what topics you'd like to pop into and what you don't. The link that was sent to you will be active. So if you would like to keep the link and then I will change or edit the details of the actual meeting to be a week's from now. And you can still use the same link to be able to re-engage in this workshop next Monday at 5 p.m. Thank you again for your engagement and your time. I really do appreciate it. I invite you to use anything that I have highlighted today. Do your own little research around what activities would suit your personality and your style or lifestyle. And if you'd like to share any good news stories or provide any feedback, please don't hesitate to again give me an email at info@selfreflections.com.au. On another note, we are also running live breathing and mindfulness sessions on our Instagram. So if you don't already follow us, it's self_reflections_clinic. So please give us a follow and a like and set both the workshops but also the mindfulness sessions in your calendar so you don't miss out. Again, thank you so much for being part of this. I really do appreciate you taking the time out. And for those of you who have met or came in, a little bit later and missed a few of the tips and tricks, this video will be on YouTube in a week or so time. So if you do miss anything, just of course follow the YouTube link in the email that I have sent. Again, thank you so very much. Look after yourselves and each other, and hopefully we'll see you in a week's time. Take care. Bye. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with your family and friends. And for more, don't forget to subscribe. Look after yourselves, take care, and see you soon.